All right, so the next piece we're going to move into, we're really going to start talking about how we can connect our ELA benchmarks with intentionality. And we're going to go through a carousel activity. We know that our ELA benchmarks are rarely, if ever, taught in isolation, at least at their best. But we also know that that can be something our teachers really struggle with. And so the more explicit and systematic we can be about that, the more explicit and systematic we can help them to be about that. So if you look around the room, you will notice there's a lot of paper on the wall, but you'll notice there are 4 big K charts on the wall. They start here in this corner and kind of go around behind Jake and Renee to that wall. Along that back wall, we have 4 charts with a giant number 3 on them. And then on this back wall here, we have 4 more charts with a 5. Those represent grade levels. Each of those charts has an ELA benchmark that goes along with that grade level. So in just a moment, I'm going to have you get into groups of 2, and you can select any chart that you want to start at. Now, once we start, we're going to stay within our grade level. So if you're at a 3 chart, you're going to be doing 3 charts. If you're at K charts, you're going to be doing K charts. If you're at 5 charts, you're going to be doing 5 charts. Any questions about that before we kind of branch out? All right. If you have your best standards book, it would be an awesome idea to bring it with you. If you don't, make sure someone has a phone that they can use to get on CPalms. All right, you're going to need 1 teammate and then 1 marker for you and your teammate. And I'll give you just a second to get to your charts and take a look at your benchmark. All right, so at your chart, you'll notice at the top there is a large benchmark at the top. If you haven't already done so, take a second and read the benchmark and any clarifications that go along with it. And when you're done, what we're going to do is we are going to begin a bit of a connective flow chart. So what I want you to do is I want you to consider just the reading strand. Just the reading strand. And I want you to think of any benchmarks in that reading strand at your grade level, whichever one you're at, might connect to the benchmark that you're standing at. And go ahead and draw that little leg right there of our flow chart. And there might be 1 benchmark that connects. There might be 2. There might be 3. But whatever you choose, what's the justification for that connection? That's kind of the important thing. So we want the benchmark code, the benchmark language, and then a justification for why that benchmark connects. Any questions? All right, cool. Let's take about 3 minutes. Just that reading strand. Yeah, if you don't mind drawing the little leg of the flow chart there, you can use the one we have on the big screens as your guide. But just that first leg. Once you've got that leg with the connected reading benchmarks and your justifications, we'll take just another minute. If you've got one, maybe there's another one. And if so, it can go on this leg here with the one you've got. Maybe there's more than one way it connects. Just in that reading strand. Yeah, we're not leaving that first leg. We want to make as many connections as we can just in that first leg. So, just within your grade level. So, if you're kind of at the end of 3rd grade, you'll kind of move down to the front of 3rd grade. Everyone else will kind of shift down. But within your grade level, move down 1 chart. So my kindergarten group kind of in the back, you'll come all the way to the front. My 3rd grade group way down there by the door, you'll come all the way down towards this door. 5th grade's pretty self-contained. You should be looking at a new benchmark, and you should see some connections to that reading strand that were left by the group before you. Take just a minute, review what they did, and see if you want to add or modify anything. We'll take about 90 seconds. See if you want to add or modify anything to that first leg. All right. Once you have reviewed those reading connected benchmarks, now I want you to create a new leg. And I want to know, are there any communications benchmarks that might connect to your overall benchmark at the top? So, we're looking now at the communication strand. Are there any communications benchmarks that would connect at the top, to your benchmark at the top? Go ahead and create a new leg with any of those communication benchmarks that connect to your overall benchmark. Remember to justify. Justify is kind of like testify, right? Like, like making sure we got it. How do we know? How do we know? Oh, cool connection.
So we said narrative. At first we didn't say narrative, but then we added narrative because you could read the two sources and then.
Sure. Well, and I think about their writing assessment, right? By the time they get to 5th grade, it's up to 3, right? It's up to 3 sources. Is it 2?
It can be 2 to 4.
Yeah,
sources.
2 to 4 sources that they might have to look at and pull information from various ones. Yeah, I love it. Love it. When you are ready, we are going to rotate again, staying within our grade level. So if you are kind of at the very end of your grade level, head back towards the beginning of it. But we're going to rotate one spot, and we should be at a new benchmark. A new benchmark in the same grade level. When you get there, take a look at the benchmark, take a look at what the people who came before you have done, and spend about 90 seconds reviewing that. Maybe there's something you'd like to add. Maybe there's something you'd like to change. Take about 90 seconds just to consider what's already been done. All right. Now that you've had some time to kind of review what came before, we're going to add one more leg, one more piece of our tree map here. And this time I want you to look at those vocabulary benchmarks. Vocabulary benchmarks, see if there are any that connect, jot them down on a new leg, on a new branch, we could say, since it's a tree map, a new root, since it's going down, and justify. Take about 2 or 3 minutes. Taking about 90 more seconds to make those connections. Write those justifications. Y'all are doing phenomenal. If you're still going, that's fine. We'll take about 30 more seconds. But one of the things that I love so much about the Carousel protocol is it can be applied to so many things, right? Normally we've done it as a list. But this is a graphic organizer. But it's a graphic organizer that every single person in a classroom is going to contribute to building. And I just think that's really cool. It's just another application. As a science specialist, I see a lot of opportunities here to create graphic organizers this way. Did anybody else spend a whole lot of money on Lakeshore posters earlier in their career that their kids never looked at? That was me, right? But I promise you, when kids create these, you see this all the time, I'm sure, they look at the ones they make. As messy as they can get, these are the ones they look at. These are the ones that mean something to them because it's their thinking. All right, we are going to rotate one more time. So we're going to rotate again. You should be at your last new benchmark. And I just want you to take about 60 seconds just to kind of review the new benchmark, review the connections that have been made. If you want to make any adjustments or additions, that's fine. But spend just about 60 seconds considering what's already been done. And as you consider, I want you to start thinking of a synthesis statement. What is it that students must know, understand, and be able to do within this whole stack of benchmarks? looking at the reading, the communication, the vocabulary. What will students need to be able to know, understand, and be able to do in this stack? Our chart here has it at the bottom. If there's not room at the bottom, you can put it somewhere else. Learning's messy, and that's fine. So go ahead. When you've got it, chat it out, write it down, and then kind of let me know that you are done by heading back to your seats once you're finished. And then we'll chat. What must they know? What must they understand? What must they be able to do? All right, I know we still have a group or two finishing up. That's fine. I don't want to rush anybody along. But I do want to ask a bit of a vulnerable question, and I hope you'll go with me on this. Was any of this, particularly the synthesizing statement, a little bit difficult? Did anybody struggle at all to come up with the synthesis piece and make it feel meaningful? So last night, when I did this myself, I really struggled with it on a few of them. And here's the thing, and I hope you don't mind me being vulnerable about that. It's hard. It's hard to relevantly and meaningfully stack ELA benchmarks. And here's the thing, if it's hard for us, it's hard for our teachers. And if it's hard for our teachers, it's really hard for our students, right? So I would highly encourage any of you to go through this with your teachers and really kind of gauge, where are they with this? How easy and or difficult is it for them to make these connections? Anyway, it's very telling. It was very telling in my own practice, but we know teachers struggle with this. And so anyway, hopefully this feels like something useful that moving forward we can do with our teachers. I'm going to turn things over to my esteemed colleague, Renee Wright. Thank you guys for going with me on that journey.